You know what? You're like the exact opposite of an antioxidant. Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing Mardu Midrange in the Timeless format. Now I draft a whole lot, and the card that made me want to try this strategy is Inevitable Defeat, which has been super strong in that draft format. So it's a 4 mana, can't be countered, exile an online permanent, and it helixes the controller. And it's just really strong. So mana drain's really popular in Timeless, and this just cuts right through that. And it answers anything, and it pitches into the strongest of the pitch elementals. So in this deck we're just playing Fury, but Fury just needs no introduction, super strong. But it also plays really nice with Ajani, because sometimes you can just pitch cast a Fury, direct 1 extra point of damage to induce an Ajani flip. Bowmasters and Shatterskull Smashing can also induce Ajani flips as well. So we have a bunch of just individually powerful cards, some hand disruptions, some Phlages, some One Rings, and just trying to grind people out. So this is a pretty good hand. We have Thoughtseize, double Bowmasters, 2 mana sources. Would be a little sketchier on the draw because the opponent could like Thoughtseize or Shatterskull away, but we're on the play. So we need to make sure we lock up a white source as well as a black source here for the turn 1 Thoughtseize. We want to make sure we can cast those Phlages later on. The opponent has a really strong hand. It's obvious they're playing Scam, and so it's really puzzling over what to take here. And it seems to me that the best thing to take is Grief. That denies them scamming us with Not Dead After All and going a little wild. So I know they could still reanimate it, but it seemed best to avoid a double Thoughtseize from Grief was my rationale. But the opponent has a strong hand, so they're just going to reanimate Grief and get to take something. And taking Shatterskull would be pretty tough, and that was a strong play by them to take Shatterskull because that just mana screws us. Unfortunately for them, we drew a pitch card in Fury, so we can just cut down their Grief. And as far as we know, they have like no follow-up, and they don't have mana up for Not Dead After All. So we missed this land drop, but hopefully that Fury buys us a lot of time. So we gotta just pray they don't rip another reanimate off the top, then otherwise we're in big trouble. So the opponent has like Dark Ritual, you know, Fatal Push, doesn't do anything right now. So we gotta hope they didn't rip like a Bowmaster. So we drew a land source, mana source, and I'm just gonna pass. That way if they do have a Bowmasters here, you know, they're either wasting their mana or they're running out on our end step, and we can just strike back with our Bowmasters. So you could see them hesitating here, and this makes me think that they maybe do have a Bowmasters. But we're, once again, going to play it patient. Now the question is, do we just grab like a Surveil land, or do we just run out a Bowmasters? But aside, if they have a Bowmasters, I don't want to blink first. Like, we can play patient. As nice as the One Ring would be, we're miles away from that. We need lands, so going to throw that in the bin. And another thing that does is it turns on Delirium for FOMO. So it's super tempting to slam FOMO right here, but once again, it just would be really powerful if they have a Bowmasters in response to like get the FOMO draw trigger. So trying to, you can see I'm like really tempted because I really want to get the land sources flowing. We can get Phlage out there, and you know, they get the one, you know, get enough mana for the One Ring eventually. But you know, we know at the very minimum it's going to get hit by a Fatal Push. So just going to hold off in case they do have the Bowmasters. We're under no pressure. We can afford to just hang out for a second. Alright, so the opponent did find another Thoughtseize. They still have Dark Ritual mana up, so they could still have a pretty big play after this. Because of the double Bowmasters, I'm just going to just let it happen. I'm fine with them taking one of them, but they do end up taking our FOMO. And we got to see if they have a follow-up. And we have to remember they can still hold up Bowmasters with the Dark Ritual. Okay, so it's a Death Shadow. So this is actually like a Shadow Scam deck, which I've actually played before. I'll go ahead and link my version of Shadow Scam right now. So now it's a little bit of a dilemma because if we keep attacking their life total, the Death Shadow is going to get out of control. So I'm purposely keeping it smaller here. I want to get the Bowmasters in play, but I don't want to strengthen the Death Shadow. So, and this is exactly why we're here. I wanted to keep it within Phlage range, and so now their shields are down, unless they have like a surgical extraction. That would be like horrific if they have that. That'd be a huge blowout. But the priority passes have indicated to me that it just doesn't seem like it's there. So it's safe to Phlage down the Death Shadow. And now we can crash with the Bowmasters. And we're still uncertain if they have their own Bowmasters or not. So, but you would think they would have maybe, well, no, I guess they wouldn't have wanted to blink first and expose it to our Bowmasters. So, alright, so here comes the Dark Ritual. We gotta see what they have. And they have Reanimate Our Fury, which is super strong play. So that's going to kill both of our creatures and give them a 3/3 double striker. And we're, you know, getting close to escaping Phlage, but then they have another Death Shadow, which is now a 9/9. So Bowmasters can like chump. So there's a Witch Enchanter. So we have plenty of cards in the grip. They made us discard a bunch. So at a sort of, you know, so we can play Phlage. But the thing is, we have to remember, the opponent has a Not Dead After All in hand. So I'm going to speed through escaping Phlage. I'm trying to preserve as much Delirium as possible. Probably shouldn't have exiled the FOMO if I was trying to do that. But anyway, I'm not going to target the Fury right here. I'm going to target their life total. Now this does make Death Shadow quite intense, but killing Fury does two things. It either turns on Fatal Push to kill Phlage, or lets them use Not Dead After All, both of which are extremely bad for us. So decide to strike their life total, because right now Bowmasters can kill them if they don't have a way to deal with Phlage. So they're crashing in with would-be lethal damage. I'm going to chump block the Death Shadow. Once again, we don't want to trigger Revolt. We want to take, you know, absorb as much damage as possible. And I think we have enough cards in the graveyard to just escape Phlage again. But we also have Bowmasters as a way to just like finish him off. So just really hoping that we can pull through this right here. And just trying to see if they, you know, basically if we untap, we got them. Alright, so the Dark Ritual is not a good sign. But Death Shadow decks typically don't run a life gain. Yeah, I'm just going to speed through. So the opponent's just showing us what they have in hand, and they're going to reanimate, and that's it. So we lock up the first one, jump into the next game. Pretty strong hand, a little bit on the clunky side. Opponent has like a heavy mulligan, and very happy to see an Inquisition drawn right there. So we're just going to go ahead and see what's going on over there. And they have an Amped Raptor and a bunch of lands. So this is like a very like budget all-in deck that some people play in Timeless, where like it's just like Amped Raptors and Thoughtseize Oracle, and you're just trying to basically, you know, cascade through your deck till you can hit a Thoughtseize Oracle kind of thing. So it's gimmicky, but you know, it might have been able to get us were it not for that Inquisition. So now it's about trying to kill them as soon as possible. So that's what I'm trying to think. Like we could try and like Phlage their life total, but I'm trying to plan ahead and play a tap land here. Chrome Mox could be useful, but anyway, just gonna put it in the graveyard. So but basically, we got to deal 20 points of damage to them. As I'm crashing with Ajani and friends, please whip quarter the like button if you like seeing mid-range battles. So the opponent, their deck has just mostly air, you know, so they're hoping to draw into another Amped Raptor. So what to do here? There's a lot of options. We can Phlage the life total. What I decide might be like best to kill them the soonest is post-attack to Shatterskull our own cat token to flip Ajani, because we have a red permanent in play thanks to FOMO. So flipping Ajani is going to be able to just replace the cat token and start dinging their life total. And this is going to make it so, barring something crazy, we will kill them next turn. So the opponent has 10 life. We have 4 points of attackers and some direct damage in hand. So if we make another cat token, that's going to... wait, do we have the kill right now? I'm trying to think. Yeah, make another cat token. That deals 3 damage to them. We can attack them for 4 and then burn them for 3. So, gonna go ahead and do that now. And then a Phlage is gonna be able to finish them off. So, the opponent didn't end up doing them that much, but you know, they're just a couple cards away from killing us. So we're able to get a quick turnaround right there and move on to the next game. This hand is pretty good against creature decks with double Fury. Like if we saw a Lurrus Companion, it'd be feeling better, but didn't have like quite enough mana sources for like the clunky cards. I'm gonna go ahead and tuck Inevitable Defeat at the bottom. Altar of the Brood. Very interesting, not commonly seen in Time of So. Already I'm like, okay, what are we up against? So it seems pretty good to tuck a Shatterskull under Chrome Mox and just have the turn 1 Bowmasters available. That also sets up turn 2 Phlage and an Inevitable Defeat eventually. Now the thing is, Altar is we're a graveyard deck. We have Phlages, and so Altar is only going to help us like escape Phlage faster. Right? So opponent's going to Rampant Growth and get another trigger, and because of the limited shock lands we had, I'm actually going to fetch in response to make sure they don't actually hit one of our like targets we need. Not to mention, we know we're going to just cast Bowmasters anyway, so the opponent ends up milling one of our fetches. This is going to supercharge our Phlages though, so playing Bowmasters, hoping that we can do something. So we can just Phlage their life total, but it seems like, even though like we're leaving some mana on the table, it seems way better to Thoughtseize them here to see what the heck's going on. And so now we could see that the opponent has some sort of landfall deck. We've seen Ramp, we've seen Scute Swarm, we've seen Uro, so the opponent is hoping to get a lot of landfall triggers, and basically once Scute Swarm goes off enough, Altar the Brood is just going to like sort of insta-kill. So that's like the combo that's going on. I'm going to take Scute Swarm because that seems the scariest of the things they have, and we are leaving a Disallow in hand, but Inevitable Defeat can cut right through that once we know they're holding it up. So they're just going to Uro right now. And they are milling us, but the thing is we do get a Bowmasters trigger, so we're a little bit able to counter Uro's life gain right there. Alright, there's a Bristly Bill. And once again, we're getting milled every time a permanent hits the battlefield for them, so going to Phlage down Bristly Bill just before it gets out of hand. And going to crash in. The thing is, Uro keeps padding their life total, so we're going to play the Shatterskull just so we have Inevitable Defeat up, because the opponent is not super far away from escaping Uro. Alright, so now they're holding up Disallow. Got another Phlage in the graveyard. And what we have right now is we don't have the right colors to escape Phlage. And the opponent also has Disallow up, so I'm not going to escape a Phlage here because they would just disallow it. So I'm going to just pass. We will need to get another white source for the Phlages though. The opponent casts Mossborn Hider. So it seems like they have a lot of landfall's greatest hits here. It does seem like their deck is a little bit unfocused. Like, I don't know if I would even go with the Altar of the Brood plan, because typically once you're going off that much with Scute Swarm, you can just attack them and kill them, you know. So I do like the idea of like all the landfall synergy. So I'm going to Inevitable Defeat here because it uses our mana well, it clears the blocker out of the way, it also deals 3 damage to them. And happy to see this. So they're going to disallow our Fetch Crack, which, you know, does lock us out of our white source. So I like that play from them because it keeps the Phlages trapped in their graveyard. But in our graveyard, unfortunately for them, we happen to draw a new white source and still happen to have an untapped white source in our deck that wasn't milled. So now it's do or die for the opponent. We're going to be able to crash in for some damage, Phlage them in the face. And, you know, Uro can do a little bit of something, but it's looking pretty bleak for them at the moment. So we have to see if they have something. So they're going to get to alter us one more time. And yeah, the opponent is just mega dead at this point. So we're going to crash in, Phlage their face, and then the comet damage is going to finish them off. So it'd be interesting to try a landfall deck sometime. I think I would take a little bit different approach. I'm not certain how viable it would be. Like, you'd need some like hand disruption, because I don't think it has quite the speed otherwise for like the combo decks, you know, unless you have some counter spells in there. Interesting to see how you would do that. Alright, opponent has turn 1 Tamiyo. Gonna crack the fetch in response. So there's different decks. Some decks just run Tamiyo and they're more like mid-rangey. There's also the decks that run oh man, what's the blue counter where you sacrifice a non-token creature? Drawing a blank. Anyway, that's why I wanted to get the Bowmasters in response. So they didn't use Tamiyo to like free cast that that counterspell. So trying to figure out exactly what mana source we should get, and very thankfully have Phlage. Now we see there was a priority pass, so it could be that they have the counterspell, but you know it's wasteful to use it. You know, sacrifice Tamiyo to, you're not even saving it. So there was a definite priority pass there. We'll have to remember. All right, so opponent's going to pass to us, and I'm trying to think of what to do. Like, there are some matchups where you want to save Witch Enchanter and going to just attack in. This like does leave us open to Bowmasters right there, but we could bolt in the Witch Enchanter land and just hold up inevitable defeat, which is exactly what I'm going to do right here. Like, it doesn't seem like they're putting us under a lot of pressure, and them being like a blue Tamiyo deck means it's highly likely they have like mana drain or something like that. So they're going to shock in something and play an Orcish Bowmasters. So very glad we didn't just run out a FOMO. So they're going to take down our Bowmasters and just going to pass. And this is why I really like inevitable defeat, because mana drain is everywhere in Timeless. Like, it's super strong, and it just laughs in the face of mana drain. And that's what, and the fact that like Lightning Helix is their face, like it just, you took it under Chrome Mox if your hand's too clunky. So going to defeat the Bowmasters, and it's just like they might have been having a mana drain up right there, but we're gonna be able to knock them all the way down to 7 and be able to play a lot more cautiously. So with Bowmasters and FOMO in hand, and them possibly having another Bowmasters, you see me toggle full control on right here, because I want to play FOMO, and then with its ETB on the stack, then flash in Bowmasters to get just a free draw. So the opponent did have a mana drain, and I'm trying to decide, and like, yeah, I'm just going to play Bowmasters right here, because if it's going to grow the Orc army before the attack. So the opponent is going to get a boost of mana, but we'll be like chewing up their life total a whole lot. So FOMO bites the dust. We're able to knock them all the way down to 4, and we have a fresh Bowmasters in play in case they want to try and. We know they're probably a Brainstorm deck, given that they have Tamiyo. So there's the Brainstorm right there. So the opponent has to be desperate if they're firing that off with an active Bowmasters. So the question is, do we shoot the army or shoot them? And I want to clear off any creature. Yeah, that turns out to be enough. So very clean dismantling of blue-black, and on to the next game. All right, turn 1 Guide of Souls from the opponent. And yeah, what to do? This hand is interesting. So we have to basically tuck a black card under Chrome Mox, because we don't have any black sources otherwise. So this is sort of a painful start if we want to hold up Bowmasters. We could also just drop FOMO right here, and there was an argument to just Thoughtseizing right there, so I opt to just hold up Bowmasters. And the opponent plays Voice of Victory, which is really strong, and it sort of ruins our plan. I was hoping to like catch them attacking with Guide of Souls, ping it, block with the Orc army, then that's done. However, Voice of Victory prevents us from playing spells in their turn, so we had the Bowmasters in response. So that is super annoying right there. Going to play a FOMO and pitch the Thoughtseize. I don't know, maybe there was an argument to like bolting in the land and hold it, but that's like 5 points of damage right there. Like, and anyway, so I opt to just slow things down a little bit. Now the thing is, Voice of Victory plus Guide of Souls is actually like an incredible wombo combo, and they have Zergo on top of that. So this is going to get nasty for us real quick, because Voice can attack. It's going to mobilize 2. Just get a ton more Guide of Souls triggers, and if they stack them correctly, which they did, they can just immediately send Voice of Victory into the air. Not to mention that Zergo is going to allow them to just keep the tokens. So this is like an awesome like Mardu mobilize strategy, and you could see Guide of Souls is like, it's already a cracked card. Like we know that, but it goes absolutely wild with mobilize. So, and it's making me think like, oh man, I want to try this. Like, it looks fun to have Guide of Souls and Voice of Victory out there. Not to mention it like shuts down counter spells. Anyway, so I think there's something to this. I don't know if I would go all in and include Zergo, but it's kicking our butts right now, so there's something to be said for that. Now there's so many things I want to kill right there. I'm going to defeat the Zergo because it's just creating too many tokens. Like we have a lot of problems right now. Voice of Victory and Zergo are both problematic. So Phlage is absolutely devastating, taking down another creature, and we're just falling like miles behind. And it would be super nice if we had like a Solitude to just take down Voice of Victory, or even Guide of Souls. And once again, you can just see the synergy between Guide of Souls and Voice of Victory. Like, opponent just crashing a lot. Maybe I should have just blocked. Oh, I guess no, the tokens are temporary now that Zergo's gone, so opponent plays the land. Phlage is not too far away, though. They need to change one of their... They need one more red or white source to make it happen. Now, One Wing is going to buy us some time, but we're going to need something big really quick, because the opponent can still get a lot of value, even though we're ring protected, by just attacking him with Voice of Victory and just getting a million more Guide of Souls triggers. So now that Ajani hits the battlefield, it's looking even more bleak. Like, we'll need like Fury and Phlage and, you know, a whole lot of stuff to start taking care of things. And like I said, it's still profitable for the opponent to attack because he gets so many Guide of Soul triggers. So we have to see where they put the new counters. And yeah, now Voice of Victory is just like a tank, 5/7 creatures. So very intrigued with this this Mardu mobilized deck the opponent has. It seems like they've sculpted it into like an energy shell. And anyway, it's looking really nice. So we draw Fury, and you could see me like it's taking a while for me to like think through it, but like we can kill the Guide of Souls, and we could kill a couple things with Shatterskull, but it's just too little too late. So we pack it in and move on to the next game. And I think there's some scenarios where we could take down that deck, but they'd had just like an absolute power start, and we just sort of floundered for a bit. So we are facing a turn 1 Thoughtseize. They're going to take our own Thoughtseize, and so that is a Surveil land in hand, and so we can't hold up a turn 1 Bowmasters, because even if we bolt in Shatterskull, like Chrome Mox would have to grab a black card, which we don't have. So trying to figure out what to do. Going to tuck Witch Enchanter into the Chrome Mox and just play the Raucous Theater. Inevitable defeat. It seems like we just gotta bin that one. Like we don't have enough mana right now. Would have been nice to tuck that under Chrome Mox just to give us like all nice colors, but we'll have to see what's going on. Alright, so another MDFC on the other side likely indicates that this is like the Dredge deck that uses oh my goodness, I'm forgetting its name. Anyway, the creature that you can mill your whole self, you know, mill until it finds a land. So the opponent has some Dredge pieces in hand, but like they don't really have anything to like really get things started. Like they could start reanimating or hard casting stuff. All right, so they're gonna Thoughtseize, and let's see what they do. All right, so they're gonna take Fury. So that will be like a pretty legit reanimation target for them shortly. So the question is, do we want to just slam a 1 ring at this point? And I decide for mana efficiency and just to find some action, I want to slam the 1 ring. Not to mention, like, if the opponent reanimates Fury, like Bowmaster is not really going to do anything anyway. So let's see what they reanimate. Oh, it's Balustrad's Spy. I kept forgetting. Anyway, got there eventually. All right, so opponent Furies, and would love to find a Phlage. Okay, so we didn't find a Phlage, but we have enough. Like we can wall off the Fury, so we don't take too much damage. The question is, do we want to Chrome Mox something? It doesn't seem like we do. Like we would love to keep all these spells we have in hand. Like just provide like a parade of blockers to stay in front of Fury. So going to just play Ajani because we would actively want to block with the token and flip into a Planeswalker. And Inevitable Defeat is awesome because the opponent is really taxing their life total, and so we might be able to just like kill them pretty quickly. All right, so they pitch cast Grief to take care of the inevitable defeat and play a Silver Smoke Ghoul. But the opponent can't really attack him with Fury. We have too many creatures, and like there's just not a lot going for them. Now, what I'm trying to do here is figure out if we can just kill them this turn, but we don't have quite enough to Bowmasters plus inevitable defeat. But the opponent packed it, and like it was getting worse and worse from them, and I think it was just a matter of time before we beat them. So jump right to the next game, and let's see what we have. No Chrome Moxes, so just gonna grab a turn 1 Surveil land. I do wonder, so I'm running 6 1-mana discards, so 4 Thoughtseizes, 2 Inquisitions. Wonder if it should actually be like 7 or 8. It's definitely possible to like get way too many of them, but like when you can tuck them in the late game under Chrome Moxes or pitch them away to FOMO, like when they're dead draws, it makes you wonder if I should be playing even more of them because we can get rid of them when they're lame. The problem is when you get stuck with them when they're not good. So turn 1 Swift Spear from the opponent. So the question is, do we play a FOMO or do we hold up Bowmasters? I opt to hold up Bowmasters because if we play a FOMO, they're probably just going to bolt it, attack him with Swift Spear. Alright, so the opponent Ancestral Angers the Swift Spear. And they don't play a land drop. Alright, so they're going to crash in. So this seems like, it feels like we can easily beat them as long as we just don't lose too much life in the early game. So with Phlage and stuff like that and Fury, like it seems like, and also inevitable defeat, like being able to gain this life. It seems pretty clear that this would be a good play. To Bowmasters first, place the trigger on the Swift Spear and then double block to take it down. So it's going to trample over 1 damage, but that takes a pretty nasty threat off the battlefield. And they missed the land drop also, so the opponent was counting on just rushing us down. So going to just play a MBFC and decide to go ahead and play FOMO right here and get rid of Shatterskull. We find a Fury. Mostly because, yeah, I guess there's still an argument for holding a Bowmasters right there. So the opponent finds another land and a Heartfire Hero, which can get pretty nasty. We've already seen some pump spells on their side. Now this is just going to work out horribly for them. And Ajani was a super clutch draw. And this is part of the power of this deck, is that we don't play God Bombardment, but we're still really good at flipping Ajani's because this is what you can do. So you Fury, you could place 1 damage on your cat and spread out the rest on everything else. So here it's just going to be an absolute massacre. We're going to kill both their creatures and flip our Ajani. Thankfully Heartfire Hero can't really do anything to us. And so now we have an Ajani. I was contemplating like plussing Ajani so it doesn't just die to a bolt, but like it seems like getting the cat and the FOMO, so they have multiple haste creatures, so I'm just holding back to protect Ajani, and the opponent's just going to pass, and it's looking pretty bad for them at this point. Going to start off by just plussing Ajani and ding them for 3, and we could play a 1-ring here. And now that the opponent didn't play any threats and we have active Bowmasters up, just gonna hold up Bowmasters and pass. And like with Ajani's plus and like our attackers, it's not gonna take much for us to take them down. Dreadhorde Arcanist. I love that card. I think it's actually underplayed in Timeless. Maybe the metagame has become a little too hostile for it, but I have had success with it in the past. So awesome to see Dreadhorde Arcanist. The opponent must just have like an awkward hand. Maybe they're more of like a mid-rangey, but anyway, not sure what's going on over there. Why it seems like they would be really playing more spells. So gonna put Ajani's +0 on the stack and then Bowmasters in response, just to maximize the amount of creatures we have on the battlefield. And wanted to do that in that order just to get maximum creatures. So as we figure out that damage, let me know in the comments, like, what are your favorite mid-range cards? Is it like Liliana the Veil, Orcish Bowmasters, Fable the Mirrorbreaker, Tarmogoyf? Let me know what you like in your mid-range decks. And yeah, the opponent is just super dead there, so we pulled ahead and then brought it home. Now, double Chrome Mox hands, like sometimes you want to mulligan them, but the nice thing is that FOMO, because you just often, it's just too much card disadvantage to like go crazy on like multiple Chrome Moxes. So, but the nice thing is FOMO can just pitch one of them and try and draw us into like a regular land. So we're gonna just turn one Thoughtseize and see what we're dealing with. And the opponent has an exceptionally strong hand. Thoughtseize, Psychic Frog, Reanimate, Grief, Fury. Basically want to make them discard their whole hand. Like if you can only choose one thing, what do you take? Because everything is super strong. And I end up taking Reanimate because I feel like them scamming us with Grief or possibly Fury, depending on how they draw, would just be pretty devastating. So that was my rationale, but once again, like their hand was super strong right there. So, and it sucks because they have a Thoughtseize. That's why I played out the Chrome Mox on my turn, because I didn't want to get my mana situation torn apart too badly. So opponent's just going to Thoughtseize us back, and we draw another MDFC, which is pretty unfortunate. So considering like we might get griefed, and that we have like a lot of ways to use our mana, like we have One Rings, we have Phlages, we have Inevitable Defeat. I'm just going to play out my whole hand right here. Like it, you know, we could maybe try and save Shatterskull to try and kill something, but it seems like just playing out a bunch of mana sources is a little better. So the opponent gets a Psychic Frog in play, and we draw another land, which is not ideal, but we will be able to at least get a Surveil. And it's looking increasingly bleak for us this game as the opponent crashes in with the Frog. And Fable the Mirror Breaker is pretty tough. They're going to make a Goblin, they're going to have... Basically, if they can get a Fury or a Grief in play, then they can like use like the sort of Kiki Jiki effect to keep hammering us with that. So, not great. I'm trying to just make sure I know which of the Surveil lands to get, like, because we have some pretty strict mana requirements between like Phlage escapes and Inevitable Defeats and stuff like that. Thoughtseize is definite card we don't want. It's just too costly and doesn't do anything on the board. We draw another fetch land. So our window is closing. Like if we can rip a One Ring soon enough, then we might be able to get there. So it'd be interesting to see if they pitch anything. So they pitched 2 Furies into the Fable. I guess they just really wanted to lock up a land drop. So crashing with the Goblin Shaman, and they're gonna crack their fetch in response, and they're grabbing a Surveil land. So looks like we're probably in for like a hard cast Grief after this combat damage hits, and the Psychic Frog is just feasting on us right now. Alright, so we're gonna play a Ragavan and pass to us. So we have one more Surveil land left, and like it's gonna have to be something good because we are just on the cusp of dying. Like if they want to go for it, they can just pitch a bunch of cards into Psychic Frog and just try and go for the kill that way, because they have like a ton of resources. So a clutch One Ring after the Surveil, it resolves, so that it's going to at least buy us a little bit of turn. We have 2 mana left over, and we draw on Ajani. Okay, so that's excellent. So that's going to at least gum up the board a little bit. And part of me is wondering if I should hold it back to try and like flip it with like a Fury potentially later on, but it seems like we just need to start playing, you know, using up our mana, playing to the board. It's just going to open up more options for next turn when One Ring draws us 2 cards. So that was the rationale. Alright, so opponent has Furies for days, so we're just going to get our cats massacred right here. We have Ring Protection, so we have like a little bit of a reprieve, but pretty soon the opponent's going to have on-demand Furies thanks to Reflections. Alright, so we draw a Witch Enchanter. Going to draw off the One Ring. And there's another Ajani and a Chrome Mox. So, trying to figure out what to do. I mean, hard casting Witch Enchanter is nice because it's going to basically just take down the Reflection, which we know is just going to be like really bad for us. And then playing another Ajani means that if we block, we can threaten an Ajani flip. So that's going to be decent. Now, the opponent can at some point send Psychic Frog to the skies, so the opponent is just going to hard cast Grief right here and send him with Fury. Send him with everything. So, and they got the treasure, and oh man, this is horrible. So they're going to ephemerate the Fury and cut down 2 more of our creatures. Now that does sacrifice like one of their attackers, but it does put us in a pretty tough spot. Like we're just going to snap block the Ragavan. We are still feeding him cards into the Psychic Frog. But yeah, it's just going really badly right now. We're going to fall to 3 off the One Ring. And now we're about to just die to our own One Ring. Opponent hits us with a good game, but we are not out of it yet. We drew another One Ring, so we can keep surviving. Like we have a Shatterskull, but we just don't have any life to play with. Like we'd have to shock in the land to even kill. No, actually it wouldn't be enough mana to even kill anything. So seems like the play is just to be patient. Alright, so we drew a Fury. Now I don't know if they have counter spells or not. They have a blue deck, so you have to respect that. So it seems wise right now to just try and clear up the board as much as we can. Now remember, as much as we want Psychic Frog dead, they can just pitch cards into it to grow it. So I want to just get as many threats off the battlefield as possible. So I'm going to pitch cast Fury, take down the Goblin and Grief, and just minimize the amount of things we have to deal with. And that allows us to play a tap land. And we have another One Ring, so we can like chain our immortality a little bit longer. And interestingly, the opponent didn't use Ephemerate there, though I guess it wouldn't have done really anything. So the opponent has another Psychic Frog. And let's see what else they have. And they're going to reanimate our Fury, putting him down to 7, but putting like a ton of stats in the battlefield. Alright, so now we fall to 2. There's an Ajani. We draw off the One Ring. Hoping there's no bow. Okay, so there's a Bowmasters. So that's something. So no matter what, we have to play the One Ring or else we just lose. Though we are just really running out of life. Like, I'm through all this card draw, I'm like, where the heck are my Phlages at? Like, that's what I need right now. I need Phlage. So, going to draw. We draw another Fury, but no pitch cards for it. And we have options. Like, we could Chrome Mox something to allow us to play Ajani and Bowmasters. So, I'm really trying to think through the options here. I'm gonna just Bowmasters their face because what's happening here. So we have ring protection, but we're at the point where if they don't run counterspells and we rip a Phlage, we can just kill them by Phlaging on the way in and then escaping it. So we fall to 1 and going to activate the One Ring right here. We draw Inevitable Defeat. I'm just like, where the heck is Phlage? So I spend a lot of time thinking through this because, and I think I ultimately make the wrong choice. The problem is, we are dead to either Psychic Frog, even through Inevitable Defeat's life gain, because the One Ring's going to be attacking us. So I end up using it on a Fury here, which is it's a misplay. I should have used Inevitable Defeat on a Psychic Frog, then pitch cast a Fury to kill the other Psychic Frog, then hard cast a Ajani, and just hope that our 4 ground blockers can hold off their Furies. And so that would be the idea. So then they'd be at 3, but the opponent just packs it in. Well, this is just a fun and satisfying strategy. It's a lot of individually powerful cards that are fun to play, like Phlage and Ajani and Bowmasters, and honestly, it plays very similar to like classic Jund. You know, we have like the 1-mana hand disruption, a lot of individually powerful cards, except we have the advantage of using a lot of Modern Horizon stuff like Phlage, Ajani, Fury, so we get that power level boost. But if you like classic Jund, I would strongly recommend this. Like, it has that kind of feel to it. And I like this take on it. Like, Inevitable Defeat seems pretty good. I'm not 100% sold on it, but it was pretty good in some of those scenarios you saw, and you can always tuck it out of Chrome Mox if it's ever pretty clunky. I do wonder if this deck should be playing some number of Solitudes. It's like more fast interaction with some crazy starts. Like, Inevitable Defeat can cover us in those, but you know, it takes the full retail 4 mana to do that. So could maybe cut a couple of these for like 2 Solitudes, and maybe it would be feeling a little bit better. I really like, so I don't really love Goblin Bombardment, especially when you're more creature light like this deck is. So I like having like tons of Shatterskulls and Furies and Bowmasters to be able to flip Ajani, because it's super strong when you flip it, and I like not having a sort of like do nothing card that's responsible for flipping it. So I really enjoy this strategy. I will definitely be revisiting it, and that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.